What's up, everybody? Episode 189 of Standing Out coming to you right now. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Trey Griggs here at Beta Consulting Group. So excited to have you with us today for the show. We got a great show today. We've had a great week of shows, even though it is Turkey Week. We're going to take Thursday off, everybody, because it's family time. So no show on Thursday, but a phenomenal week of shows this week. Yesterday, a great conversation with Joy Myers. He runs Atlanta Dispatch, so we talked about the FMCSA ruling recently on dispatch services versus brokerage services. Tomorrow, my good friend Celine Clayton from Green Screen is going to be on the show. She is the most, well, not the most recent, but one of the most recent hires at Green Screens. We're going to talk about what she's doing on marketing on that side. And then on Friday, my friend right here in St. Louis, Cheryl Isaac, she's a consultant, and she's going to talk about the world of being a consultant both internally and externally as well. Our kids go to school together. We often go out to dinner, all of our families do. So it's going to be great to have her on the show on Friday, a little hometown special on Friday. So make sure you come back for that and check that out. And you can check all these out on demand on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel to make sure you get every video that we put out, every podcast that we put out. You can also find us anywhere that you download audio podcasts. So in case you're not able to watch every show, you can just subscribe to us on Apple, Spotify, all those, and listen to every podcast via audio. All right, everybody, listen, hey, we're excited to have you part of the show today. Beta Consulting Group is what we're all about. We are helping clients move out of the realm of obscurity into becoming a well-known and trusted brand in order to grow revenue. Our mission statement is to glorify God and make much of him while building each client's brand. We would love to work with you. So check us out online at betaconsultinggroup.com. Fill out a form and we will follow up with you. Got a new website dropping mid-December. Super excited about that. So we're going to have for the 2023 a brand new storefront. We're super excited about how that's going to be received by the marketplace. So we'll see how that goes. All right, everybody. Hey, listen, let's get this show started today. Super excited to bring on our guest today. He is an entrepreneur, has a lot of really cool things happening, and he's a Midwest guy, which I love, being here from St. Louis. He's up in Iowa. And so please welcome to the show from River City, the founder and CEO, Chris Brewer. Chris, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Man, we're living the Midwest dream. You know, it's sunny and 25. It's a beautiful November day, and I'm just happy to be here. I appreciate you having me on, and just want to say, thank you and good morning to all your followers. You've got a really good thing going on, so it's pretty cool. You should be proud of it.
Well, it's great to have you, and I appreciate those kind words. But let's talk about this Midwest winter. This is the only thing I don't like about living in the Midwest is what you just said. It's a sunny day. The skies are blue where I live as well. Sometimes you look out there and you get a little deceived that it's going to be a really nice day, and then you open that front door and it smacks you right in the face. The cold weather does, but it's the way it is.
It knocks you off your feet. I think we were both talking about this earlier. We played golf 2 weeks ago in shorts. And today you wouldn't dare go outside without a winter coat on. So
no, and you're definitely not going to try to hit an 8-iron today. There's no way. You thin that baby, and that's not going to feel good at all.
You might not feel anything in your hands for a few months after that.
That's right. I remember in college I played in one golf tournament. It was in just north of Tulsa, Oklahoma, in Bartlesville area. And it was an early March, beginning of the season, and we thought, we're going south to Oklahoma. This is going to be great. It was like 30 degrees, 35 degrees. We were wearing gloves in between every shot. I mean, you don't miss a shot that day, because if you do, you might as well just walk it in. You're not gonna play much longer.
No, you probably wore 2 gloves if I remember playing in that type of weather. I try to play when it's cold out, but then again, like, you take advantage of the days that you have in the Midwest because they're somewhat limited, right?
Golf season gets shorter, that's for sure. And I remember I had a golf glove on, and then we had those big mittens that Ping made. Ping made some mittens that you would buy. So we throw those off to the side, you hit your shot, put them back on, had the warmers inside. I mean, it was like, and we played 36 holes. Of course, it was a 1-day, 36-hole event. I'm like, what are we doing out here? It's crazy. Yep. But great memory. We made it through. I can't remember what I shot, but I'm sure it's pretty high. But that's all right. That doesn't really matter. All right, we're getting off track here. Let's take just a moment and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what's good at River City Logistics.
Yeah, so I've been in the industry for a little over 10 years. I got my career jump-started with a large fleet based operation, actually right here in Dubuque, Iowa. Got to give them credit. I learned a lot. I wouldn't say everything, but I learned a lot about how to run a fleet, how to run a sizable, scalable business by working at Food Liner. Got to give a shout out to the people there. Greg McCoy runs an incredible business. He is a force to be reckoned with. He knows how to run a trucking company. And I started there as a dispatcher, ran a fleet of trucks of, I think at the highest point, it was like 85 or 89 trucks, something like that. And moved out west, took an upward position in the organization. And then I got recruited to go work at what essentially was the early stages of what's now an incredibly successful brokerage. Worked there, learned a ton, incredibly grateful for all the people that mentored me and put their time and energy in making me the best logistics professional possible. Really couldn't do the commute any longer. I was living in Sacramento and I was commuting about 500 miles a week. Took about 18 months completely out of the industry and then got back into dispatching. And then did that for another 8 months. And then my heart was being a broker. I love providing solutions for my clients. And so a little over 2 years when I left the industry, I got back in it. Started River City Logistics in November of 2018. We've got 34 full-time brokers and a fleet of 18 trucks now.
Wow. So it's interesting because you started on the carrier side,
Yeah,
and really spoke that language, but your heart was in brokerage and your heart was in, more of the logistics solutions as opposed to, but you're still doing both now. You got the carrier side and the brokerage side as well. But it's interesting because a lot of people don't necessarily speak both languages. There's like one or the other is what they tend to lean to.
Yeah, most people, if you're on LinkedIn as much as I am, which I believe you probably are, you've got a very solid divide, right? You're either on one side or the other. And I like to play devil's advocate because I'm really kind of in the middle. I think that my fleet-based background and my understanding of basic logistics operations on the back end is what made me an incredible broker. I like to think of myself as, honestly, one of the best salespeople in this industry. Not trying to be braggadocious or anything like that, but I think that my background in understanding the real logistics and how every single decision affects on-time delivery and on-time pick, that is what has made me successful, and which is why I've been able to train my people to operate at an incredibly high clip. I would encourage people to learn the other side of the business because it's not cheap and it's not easy. And oftentimes drivers are somewhat difficult to deal with. You sometimes have to be their therapist, but I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm incredibly grateful for having learned that side of the business because now as a fleet owner, I know how to make all those decisions, and they're not easy decisions to make, but they're important.
Yeah, that's huge. There's a lot that I want to dissect there. First of all, I love the confidence that you have. And there's a difference between being braggadocious, cocky, arrogant, and having justifiable confidence. You've clearly been through the ringer and you've learned, you've had great mentors along the way that taught you a lot. And so you know what you're doing. And so I love seeing that confidence that you believe in yourself. Talk for a minute about this because I think this is something that oftentimes, especially as leaders, we forget about. How valuable was it for you to have great leadership at Food Liner and at your experiences that helped, propel you to these things? I mean, talk about the difference that made and how you're trying to do that as a leader now.
That's a great question. The answer is a lot more complex, but I'll do a great job of explaining it. I said this in an event that I hosted at my alma mater back in September. In every organization that I've worked in, which has only been 2 other before I started my own, I found the smartest, most intelligent, and most highly reputable person in the room, and I made friends with them.
That is such a good life hack. Say that again.
Okay, so I found the smartest, most intelligent, most highly reputable person in each room, and I became friends with them, and in a genuine way. I wanted to learn and understand and educate myself how to be better at my previous job or current job, like whatever my role was. I wanted to be the best, and I've been that way my whole life. From a mentorship standpoint, having people that know far more than you do coach, educate, and teach you is invaluable, right? I try to tell all of my people that come into our organization, whether they're green or have, worked at a competitor or, they worked on the fleet side. We have a lot of people that work for me that came from the fleet side. It's just be a sponge, soak up as much as you humanly can, and you're naturally going to be okay, because at the end of the day, it's just freight. We're not performing heart surgery. This isn't, we're not working at SpaceX or NASA. Like, we're not working on rockets. I say that lightly. It's just freight, but it's also my career. It's my passion. But we've also got to be pretty literal about it, right? Like, we're going to survive. We're going to go home to our family. We're going to make sure that, people are fed. And if you connect yourself to some of the smartest people in each room, it's an easy way to figure out how to be good at what we're doing, which is, moving freight.
Yeah, no, I think it's genius. And something I just talked to a friend of mine about recently is, as your career progresses and as you learn and as you grow, you have to start putting yourself in different rooms. You have to start putting yourself, like the person that maybe got you to where you are now, the person that's helped you out. Obviously, you maintain that relationship. I'm very thankful for what they do in your life and all those kind of things. But sometimes you got to reach out to the next person and, get into a different room to learn some new things and to continue to grow. And I think that's just a skill that, a lot of times people are afraid to maybe ask for somebody's time or to start to build a relationship with somebody that's way ahead of them. I've been fortunate in my life to not be afraid to ask for people's time. So that's done wonders for me to help me out and to learn a ton that I wouldn't have learned otherwise. I think it's just a great life hack, great business hack, is to make friends and hang out with people who are way ahead of you and know a lot more than you. So kudos to you on that. And you're bilingual in our industry. You got carrier, you got the broker side. Coleman says it's a great thing to learn, is to make sure you understand both sides of the equation. I think that's a really valuable skill to understand. Have you ever been in a shipper? Have you ever worked for a shipping organization?
No, I have not. Well, I lied.
That'd be the trifecta if you did.
Materials for a little bit. When I got out of the field and I moved back home, I did that for the better part of over a year. So I did work for a shipper, but not in the operations as a salesperson. And it was funny because when I did take that role, I actually helped them implement some policies and procedures to make their logistics and supply chain a little more seamless. So, it's been fun. I oftentimes run into people now when I'm soliciting new business that have come from the 3PL space. You're seeing a lot of large scale shippers and manufacturers and distributors. They're hiring people like me, people that have been in the space, because we know where cost is. We know where savings can lie, right? It's under every rock that you turn over.
Yeah, that's really valuable. And just as a side note, Coleman, this is a good recommendation. He says we got to get into the simulator golf game, which, being in the Midwest, that's not a bad idea. I've got a vaulted garage. I've been trying to talk my wife in this for a while to maybe drop a simulator in there one of these days. See if we can make it work. But we'll see. I just saw online a guy whose entire basement was a golf setup. Like, you walk in downstairs, you open the door and it's a green. Then you walk around that, and then he's got the simulator up. I mean, it's a pretty legit little setup down there. So, you can do a lot of fun stuff if you got a little money.
He must be the best husband of all time, because I don't think my wife would go for that.
Well, it depends. I mean, my wife likes golf, so maybe, if she gets
there you go.
Practice, it's not necessarily a bad thing, that's for sure. All right, I want to back up for a minute and talk about the entrepreneurial journey, because this is something that I like to talk about. It took me a long time for myself to get the courage up to start my own business. It's something I thought about for a long time, but there's always kind of a fear or a doubt or a struggle in that regard. You had a great career working for other companies, and at some point you made the decision to jump out and do your own thing, really bet on yourself. Talk about that process and what that was like for you. Was that easy to do? Was there any trepidation? Was it challenging? What were some of the struggles, or, just how did that whole process go for you?
I got to be honest with you. It was not easy. Giving up what is essentially guaranteed income, working as a salaried employee. I remember this day like it was yesterday. I came home. I had a terrible day. I had worked like 6 months trying to close this deal. It was like a 3 or 4 truckload project of some stretch wrap. And it was actually with Starbucks, believe it or not. And they ended up going with another vendor. And I came home and I looked at my wife and I said, you know what? I'm quitting my job tomorrow. And we're going to get back in freight. And she was just like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? And I said, you know what? I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to find a way to make sure that this is successful, because I knew that freight is what I was incredibly good at. And I knew that helping people and developing solutions is really kind of my calling. So I quit my job the next morning, had an MC within 5 days, and started, back on the cold call grind. So started back in November of 2018 in my, 2-bedroom apartment in Sacramento, California. We had no kids at the time, but we were looking to start our family. I'd been married for like 2 months.
Wait, 2 months and you're ready to start a family? Wow.
Yeah,
Jumping right
well, my
in,
wife
man.
is from Iowa, so at 26, you're kind of behind the 8 ball here in the Midwest when it comes to having kids. But
That can be true sometimes.
the entrepreneurial aspect was incredibly scary. But once I started going, and once I got my feet under myself and I started gaining some momentum, I kind of felt back at home, like I was,
Yeah.
moving freight 2 years prior. Flash forward today, we've got 34 full-time brokers, 18 trucks on the road. We've gone from 0 to $50 million in revenue in less than 4 years. It's been an incredible journey.
What was it that helped you get past this scary part of being an entrepreneur?
I think the answer is pretty simple. It's trusting people that you bring in. And I'll be the first to admit that I hate to even say this, but I could and used to get, and I'm not like this anymore, but very micromanagey. You hire people that are generally smarter and better at things that you're not good at. And I think we've done a great job, me and my partners here at River City, bringing in people with different perspectives, with different talents, with leadership abilities, with fleet experience, people from all walks of life. We've got an incredible culture. I mean, I wouldn't change it for the world. I say it all the time on every podcast that I'm on. My people are like my family. I literally tell them that I love them at least once a week. And I truly mean that. Like, I really legitimately love these people. And I've got a commitment to make sure that they're employed and they can feed their families. And if that means that I've got to work twice as hard, I'm willing to do that.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're willing to tell them that you love them. That's something that it doesn't happen a lot, but man, like when it's family, it's almost kind of expected. Like, yeah, I love you, you're family. But when you say that to somebody, especially maybe for the first time, who's not family, it almost kind of catches them off guard a little bit. But to me, it's powerful. I've said that to a lot of my friends. When we're finishing up, a great meeting, a mentorship meeting, I'll tell them I love them. It's changed my life being willing to say that. I love the fact that you do that. That's awesome. What are some of the reactions you get when you say that? Are people pretty open to it, or are they kind of first time like, whoa, what's that?
Yeah, people that have known me for a while, especially like the people that have been around since day one, they know what I'm about and what I do, and it's cool to see some of the reactions. Is like people like kind of take a step back and they're like, "Did you really just say that?" And I'm like, "No, I truly care. Like,
Yeah,
I legitimately care."
a lot of times you don't get it back right away because they're not ready for it. Right?
Yeah,
it's like
sure,
a relationship. Yeah. You don't get it, don't get it back right away. That's awesome. That's cool. I love hearing you talking about getting over the hump with that. Bring on people that I think it starts with the self-awareness, as you said. Knowing where you need some help and where your strengths don't exist, and bring some people in around those to pad those up is really valuable. One of the questions I have for you is how did you make the decision on when to bring people in? Did you have too much business and you needed help, or did you try to find people ahead of time before maybe you had the business to get prepared for it?
I had too much business and I could not handle it all. I mean, That's the honest to God truth. I did it by myself for a year before I brought anyone else on. Then ended up bringing my partner on, who's one of the best salespeople in this industry. I would put that guy up against anybody, and I'm putting my money on him. I'm sure Vegas probably has him at minus money to win any sales competition that he's in. But he was the first person I brought on, and then I brought on a few of my family members who had logistics experience, and then it just got to a point where we still had more business. We had more business that we can really handle. And then we started, doing some advertising, bringing on people that had experience. And then it was about the employee number 6 or 7 mark where we started taking flyers on people with no experience. And what I love about people with no experience, Trey, is that you can turn them into what you want them to be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I have
bartenders. More work, but it's worth it. Yeah.
I have bartenders, ex-bartenders, ex-teachers. These guys are making 6 figures a year because they are relentless. And They learn our language, which is different than most other operations. I feel like we do a good job of breaking up the two sides. We have carrier ops people and we have salespeople, and it's not cradle to grave. It's a little bit different model, but it's proven and it works.
Yeah, no, and those are two of the best areas I think to recruit from, especially for logistics and transportation. Anybody who works in a restaurant service-based industry, especially if they're good. If I have a good server or waiter, I'm like, man, I wish I could hire that person. Like that person would be great. Bartenders, especially, they were just good at making friends and helping people out and those kind of things. And then teachers, I think that's one of the least respected professions to recruit from, because a lot of times people think that teachers may not be able to transition those skills or transfer the skills. But as a former teacher myself, I can tell you, getting up and giving a presentation every day, working with kids, working with parents, like there's a lot of communication that goes on to that, a lot of writing that goes on to that, a lot of skills that can be transferred into, being a broker and working with customers. So kudos to you for digging into those two industries to recruit from. I think that's really valuable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Love the teachers. Huge. By the way, anyone out there, we have, plenty of spouses here in our organization that are teachers. We actually allocate a good amount of our resources and philanthropy to, level 1 type institutions where kids aren't fortunate. And I think I have to acknowledge the fact that we actually provide full transportation services for Elmcrest Elementary in Reno, Nevada. These kids literally live in motels and they have nothing. And they are lucky to have one parent. And we pay for them to go up into the mountain up in Lake Tahoe, get away from life and experience something that they would never have the opportunity to experience. And I do feel really good about being able to do that, because myself growing up, I like to say I had the best of both worlds. My parents divorced really young. My dad was a pretty successful guy. My mom worked incredibly hard, but didn't make very much money. And, we lived off the government. And I think those experiences made me who I am today, because I realized the type of life that I wanted, and I realized the type of life that I never wanted. And that's kind of what led me to where I am today.
Yeah, that's huge. Our experiences do play a big role in that. And shout out to all the teachers. I'd still be teaching today if it paid anything. That was my favorite job to this day, of teaching high school physics. I loved it. Just being the provider, I didn't want to go into administration, but I love the fact that you're doing that. And, I share a similar experience. My parents divorced when I was 7. And when I was a youth pastor, I was always drawn to those fringe kids who needed me, more than the ones that maybe didn't, because I remember living that life and what it was like. So yeah, it's amazing how that impacts our career and our future and where we're headed. And so shout out to all the teachers out there, and hopefully you enjoy your Thanksgiving break, by the way, coming up. So get a little time off. All right. So we got to pause for a minute. Chris, every day we celebrate the national day. A couple days ago was Veterans Day, Thursday, this week is Thanksgiving. But today, do you know what today's national day is? It's a weird one.
I have no idea. I'm looking at the calendar, looking at 11/22/22. I'm like,
National Cranberry Relish Day, which is fitting for Thanksgiving week, I guess. Have you ever had cranberry relish?
I can't say that I have.
I haven't either. I don't even know if it's good or not. I mean, I've had cranberries and it's pretty good. I can't imagine what they would put in relish. If anybody in the comments knows, let us know what cranberry relish is all about. I have no idea, but it's National Cranberry Relish Day. Are you a cranberry fan for Thanksgiving?
I am not, actually. And I'm a huge Thanksgiving guy. My wife and I have this conversation every year. Like, Christmas decor cannot go up until the day after Thanksgiving in my house. That's just one of those things that I'm not willing to.
Not budging on that. No,
I'm not budging. There's no way. No. But I'm not a cranberry guy. Give me some stuffing. In the Midwest here, they can cook up some pretty good stuffing. So
yeah, homemade stuffing is the best. Cranberry to me is just too it's too sweet. I feel like I'm just eating sugar. And I'd rather save that for like pumpkin pie or maybe candy yams, sweet potato casserole or something like that. I'd rather go that route. So I'm with you on the cranberries, not down with that. But anyways, it's National Cranberry Relish Day, everybody. So enjoy. Also, Chris, we have the random question of the day. And this question is so random, I haven't seen it yet. We let our podcast producer, Ruth, come up with this every day. Some are funny, some are serious, some are really good, some are, let's see what today's is. So today's random question is, what food looks disgusting but tastes delicious? That's a good question. What food looks disgusting but tastes delicious? I got one if you don't have one.
I do have one. It's a Thanksgiving dish.
Let's hear it.
It's got to be candied yams.
Candied yams. Oh, it looks disgusting to you?
Oh, it looks terrible.
All right. I mean, it is kind of just brown mess and some brown sugar in there. Yeah, that's not bad. I had one recently. I had cheeseburger soup, which sounds terrible. but it's actually pretty good. It had some potatoes in it. It had some cheese, obviously a little bit of meat in there. I don't know where it got the name because potatoes are not on cheeseburgers, but the
No.
fries, maybe if you get it with the fries, maybe that's where it is. I don't know. But anyways, cheeseburger soup, it looked really disgusting. It kind of looked like, not to be, I mean, we're getting close to lunchtime. It kind of looked like throw up a little bit, but it tasted really good. It had this kind of yellowy brown kind of look to it, It was soupy. But anyways, that was pretty nasty, but it tasted really, really good. So if you get
What was
somebody
the
to make it good,
substance like? Was it thick? Was it
it was
thick or more
no,
runny?
it was like a vegetable beef soup.
Okay.
I mean, it was runny with some chunky stuff in it. So again, if you can imagine like a yellowy substance with some chunky and meat and potato, it didn't look really great coming out of the bowl, but it tasted really good. So good question, Ruth. Appreciate that.
Caught me off guard, Ruth.
I know. She does that from time to time. All right, let's end with this. We talked about this briefly as we got on. We talked a little bit about, as an entrepreneur and as growing your business. We talked a little bit about the value of marketing and what you guys have done at River City. Talk a little bit about, your journey into becoming a believer in marketing and what you guys did that's really made an impact from a digital perspective.
Yeah, I think it's important to note, and we talked about this right before we jumped on, but I want to reiterate it to the people that are listening. A lot of people could see marketing and spending as a non-benefit, like a waste of revenue. For us, we were able to gain a lot of incredible, talented people by marketing. We've also been able to gain a really strong presence in both markets that we operate in. We've got an office in Reno, Nevada, and then our headquarters is here in Dubuque, Iowa. And it's really allowed us to kind of ingrain ourselves in each of those communities. And I told you earlier, philanthropy is a big part of what we do. I'm always trying to pay it forward. I make sure that, X amount of, profits go to nonprofit organizations and women and children that need help. And marketing has allowed us to gain some incredible business relationships with nonprofits. I stand by it. Like I said, I used to not think that it had much value, but I couldn't have been any more wrong about it.
Yeah, it's really fascinating because, like when you think about business expenditures, you always want to see a return on it. And that's always, really valuable to do. Marketing is difficult because a lot of times that direct attribution of, okay, well, how did that dollar bring in this dollar? Like, how did that happen? With a salesperson, it's a little bit easier to do those types of things, but marketing is a little bit different to do that. But the value is tremendous in terms of building your brand, in terms of recruiting, like you said. I mean, you want to bring in people that jive with your culture, with your values, those types of things. And I always ask people this question: why does Coca-Cola, why do Doritos, why do they pay millions of dollars for a Super Bowl commercial every year? I mean, do people not know who they are? Do people not drink their products or eat their products? It's because there's something about branding and keeping things top of mind and that subconscious subliminal messaging that, when somebody needs transportation, who are they going to call? Well, if they've been seeing you, they've been seeing River City, if they've been seeing River City's team post on social media, if they've been, whatever it is, you might be top of mind when they really need you. And there's a ton of value in that, but it's not as direct as some of the other investments that you make. And so it's always challenging to kind of, convey that. But I love the fact that you guys have done that and have seen success with that. It's huge, it makes a big difference. What are some of the things you've done from a marketing perspective that have worked? What do you feel like has been really helpful?
I think brand awareness is probably the biggest thing. Like I said, we've been able to really grow our name in both markets to where we've made some really, really instrumental relationships with, economic development committees in both markets to the point where, people just send us an email and say, hey, this client is looking at 1 million square feet. They need somebody that they can depend on to bring their product from, A to B. Would you have a conversation with them before they sign on the dotted line? And obviously, those deals are 2 to 3 years, 4 years out, but for people and well-respected people in each of our markets where we have offices, for them to come to me and come to my partners with these types of questions, I think it speaks volumes to what we've been able to accomplish in such a short time.
Yeah, it's huge. It definitely makes sales a lot easier when people know a little bit about who you are and what you do, and there's a trust level and a comfort level before they even get to you. I think that's huge and sometimes underestimated in terms of the value that it brings to an organization, which is pretty awesome. And last question, real quick, because we're right at 30 minutes. We're already there. It's amazing. It goes by so fast every day. From a branding perspective, what's the story behind River City? Where'd you come up with that name?
So I actually went to River City High School in West Sacramento, California. Got to give a shout out to my hometown. That's not where it came from. Sacramento is known as the River City. And ironically, I didn't have any intention of moving back to the Midwest, but where I live in Dubuque, Iowa, it's right on the Mississippi River. It's gorgeous here. And it also too is known as the River City. So it fits both markets. We're no longer in Sacramento, we're in Reno, but I took the color scheme from my old high school, and I love that Carolina blue. I'm a Charger fan. God bless us. We can't
Sorry,
any
I'm a Chiefs fan.
I know it's tough, but I'm a firm believer in never forget where you come from.
Yeah, that's cool.
Never forget who made you and the people in the village that it takes to bring somebody up, and proud of what we've been able to build. I'm incredibly passionate about what we do, and I care about everyone that works for me.
Well, that is clear just in the brief time we had a chance to know each other, how much you care and how much you're passionate about what you're doing. And I didn't realize that Sacramento was the River City. I didn't know that. So learned something new today about that. And of course, Dubuque on the Mississippi. That's actually what I thought it was from. I thought you were headed there. So pretty interesting that it plays both sides, which is pretty cool. But hey, Chris, thanks for being on the show, man. Really appreciate you being a part of what we're doing here and telling your story, and just excited for what you're doing, man. Best of luck to you. Hope you'll come back and keep us posted on how everything is going for you guys.
Yeah, looking forward to getting down and visiting you in St. Louis.
Please, yes, get down here, come see some customers. Maybe we'll catch a day to play some golf or go to a simulator. There's a couple right by my house. We'll have to maybe catch that and grab some lunch. That would be a lot of fun.
Right on.
Yep, and everybody watching the show, thanks so much for being in the comments, being a part of that. Make sure you come back tomorrow for Celine Clayton from Green Screen. It's going to be a great conversation. And shout out to our partner, Taps, good guys in freight factoring. Check them out at taps.com. Chris, thanks so much for being here, man. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Ray.